November 2006. When she couldn't sleep, which was often, Maggie had learned that lying damply, tossing in the hot, crumpled sheets of her too-big bed, was the worst thing she could do. She didn't want to take pills, though she had them, hidden in the back of the medicine cabinet, a slender amber pot of blue lozenge-shaped pills, not one missing, all pushed down with a cotton wool ball, the label facing the back of the cupboard, like she was ashamed she had even been prescribed them. She couldn't read then, or watch television. Her daughter Allie, who knew how it was, though they seldom talked about it, had joined Love Film with her mother's name and credit card details, and optimistically lined up epic boxed series of DVDs: The West Wing, Rome, 24, Grey's Anatomy, alongside the older black-and-white film collection that Maggie had treasured for years, the Cary Grant and Jimmy Stewart and Katharine Hepburn films she knew by heart, but that Allie didn't consider constituted entertainment. But Maggie couldn't always concentrate, couldn't follow even the simplest stories she knew best. She needed to move, and not to think. If she'd lived alone, she might have run, hard and fast, the way she hadn't done for years, concentrating only on putting one leg in front of the other, and on controlling the screaming pain in her lungs, though she knew it wasn't a sensible thing to do in West London in the middle of the night. But she didn't live alone, and she couldn't do that. So she did housework, and laundry, and ironing, in the middle of the night. Her home was cleaner than it had ever been. Not that it mattered to her, particularly. Maggie had always been quite laid back about that. More laid back than her husband Bill ever had been, certainly. She had accused him more than once, and not entirely jokingly, of being borderline OCD. Bill would square off a pile of magazines and newspapers on the coffee table, if he wasn't, in fact, consigning them to the recycling, and dry dishes left to drain on the counter. He couldn't really relax if jobs like this weren't done. They were not things that had ever worried Maggie. She'd grown up in comfortable chaos. Her mum had kept newspapers until she'd read every word, and since she worked hard, that often took weeks, and they teetered in piles on every available surface. It was clean, her childhood home, but it was almost never tidy. Mess was her natural habitat, she supposed. It was one of the differences between them that had once been endearing, but, across the years of their marriage, had become less acute contrast, and more a wearisome irritation. Sand in the pearl shell. But the cleaning was almost therapeutic now. She could go into a room and make it different, achieve something, fix something, focus on something real, however mundane. And it was hard work physically. She usually gave up on sleep around 2 or 3 a.m., then cleaned for 2 or 3 hours, then went back to bed, falling exhausted onto the same crumpled sheets, not noticing them this time. It meant that getting up at 7:30 a.m. to see Stan and Allie off to school nearly killed her every morning. The alarm she had to keep on the dresser across from her bed, rousing her from the deepest, furthest away sleep she ever got these days. She would swing her legs out of bed the second she heard it, sitting with her head bowed like a disorientated drunk, willing herself to come around. She never let herself go back to bed after she'd waved them off, though sometimes, usually, she ached to. Somehow, that felt like a slippery slope to her, and the idea of it frightened her. She wouldn't be that woman. She showered and dressed, dried her hair, and put on makeup. Something she'd learned to do without ever really looking herself in the eye, and got on with things. She often napped in the afternoons in front of Midsummer Murders, on the deep denim sofa in the sitting room, but she was dressed when she did it, damn it. It was a new routine, and she hated it, but it was a routine at least, and there was some strange comfort in that. For a long time, there'd been no routine at all, because they'd all been so very lost, disorientated.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it. at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.